Shalom. I am glad to be here with you today. You have been hearing stories this past season about the birth of the Messiah and how the story happens through the view of Mary and Joseph, of shepherds and magi. You've even heard perhaps the story of the innkeeper from Bethlehem. Well, I think that it's time for you to hear the story of what happened the day after on two occasions for those of us who are citizens of Bethlehem, but whose story has not yet been well told. I am one of those citizens. My name is Eladad, son of Kislon, of the tribe of Benjamin, and I've lived all my life in Bethlehem. Now, as I begin, let me just mention Bethlehem. Obviously, if you know my language at all, it means Bethlehem, house of bread. And you would think that Bethlehem is a village south of Jerusalem where great numbers of ground are given to the growing of grain. But that's not the case. Perhaps it was long before my time, but by my time, the two main industries of Bethlehem were sheep and wool. And so it is that I am a fairly prosperous man of my village, and if we're a small group, we know each other well and work well together. We provide lambs for the sacrifice in Jerusalem. At the same time, we also raise lambs. We have some grain, of course, for our own use, but we also have the sheep for meat and for wool. And so here we are growing the community by our businesses. I am a weaver, as my father was before me. So here I am now, master weaver. I hire young boys and young men to be my shepherds, to watch over the flock. And then they can shear it when the wool is ready to be sheared. And I hire the women to scour the wool to make sure that it's clean. And they would also sort it and card it. And then eventually we'd be putting it on the spindles and distaff to make thread. And so we're busy making cloth, not just lambs for sacrifice, but also crops for ourselves and then cloth for industry. So I make fine cloth. A lot of people make their own just for their homespun clothes, but for finer goods, we have a business going. And so we were glad to see when all these people came at the time of the birth of Messiah Jesus that we would have crowds of people, all these thousands of people coming who were descendants of King David. Now, David had many wives, and his son Solomon alone, of all his sons, had many wives, and so there were many, many people coming to Bethlehem during the time of the enrollment ordered by Caesar. I think Caesar did not realize how God was using him to bring the Holy Family to the place they're supposed to be to fulfill prophecy. So all these people are there, and business was good for me, and we didn't know about the birth at first. It was just people coming to sign up for taxes. And then that night, as you recall the story, shepherds saw angels, and they came to see the baby. And afterwards, they pounded on everybody's door. And so my door gets pounded on that night, and I'm being told that the Messiah has been born. He's just down the street. And so the next morning, my wife and I decide that we also will go to visit. This is our Messiah, the long-awaited King. And so we decided to go, and I said, I wish to take a gift. My wife wanted to know what I'm doing. I'm going through all the cloth in our shop, and I'm saying, I want to give the baby a blanket. And so I'm looking for one, and she says, well, don't look there, look over there. And those were the finer ones that we used for more expensive purchases. So I said, oh, right. And I went to get one. She said, no, not that one, the other one. I said, that's the finest one. She said, what else would you give Messiah? She was right. And so we took that, and we presented then that morning to Mary and Joseph this blanket for the baby Jesus. They stayed in Bethlehem. We were so wonderful a community, and we had made bonds together. That day, right around noon, the rabbi called all of us together. I don't just mean the citizens of Bethlehem. I'm talking about all of the people who were there too, other descendants of David living there. And the rabbi called us together, and he made a big speech, and he was saying, do you realize what's happening here? The Messiah has been born. Our king is here, but he needs to grow up. We can't talk about this to anyone, not even each other. Let this be a day of joy, but let it be after this a day of silence. We should vow to keep this secret. So Herod, he's only a few miles away. We don't want him to know about the baby. And so we must all vow this day. We must renew our loyalties, not to King Herod, but to King Jesus, this Messiah child, that we will not somehow interfere with his life and his growing up. And so the whole community said, yes and amen. We will indeed renew our vows. My loyalty, I have a loyalty to my family, to my business, to my friends and neighbors. Higher than that, I have a loyalty to my God. And so I wished to renew my loyalty to him, and I said, yes, I will keep this secret. And all of us said the same. And so Mary and Joseph lived with us for a number of months. And the second event that I wanted to speak with you about is that event the day after the Magi arrived. There was such a noise when they were coming. This was a large caravan. Now, that's not unusual, caravans going by Bethlehem, because it's right on the road from Jerusalem down to Egypt. This is the King's Highway. And so we're just off the road. But it was not often that a caravan would come to us. And here this group came in, and we're all kind of gathering out in the streets saying, what's going on? And they went right to the very house where now resided Joseph and Mary and the baby. And we look at each other. I think we're all thinking, I didn't tell them. How did they know? Who are these people? But they came with mercenary soldiers to protect them, with servants, horses, camels, donkeys, all kinds of goods for a long trip. These were foreigners coming from a faraway place, Persia. And so we were just mystified. How did they know? But they went to the house and they watched these magi, these magnificently dressed men, cloth like I could not make. And they were falling on their faces before the baby, presenting him gifts. And the rest of us were just standing around watching. And then, well, the story became told, and we all shared with each other, had a big community meal that night, and the Magi camped in the yard there by Joseph's house, and it was magnificent. An event like none other in our history. Of course, the birth was like none other in our history, wasn't it? I went to bed that night thinking, tomorrow, I would like to make a gift to Mary. I would want to give her something special, and I had been working on it for some time, a shawl that I thought she would really appreciate. And so that day, I'm getting ready to do that. And as I'm walking in town, I hear thunder. I look up, and there's no clouds in the sky. What is this? And I realized the thunder was horse hooves pounding on the ground. A large number of troops, and dust finally showed up as they're coming into Bethlehem. Soldiers, many soldiers. They looked very grim. And as they got off their horses, they drew their swords. And I went forward a few steps. I'm afraid. I don't understand. And I asked them, why are you here? What do you want? What are we doing? And they ignored me. And they went over to a house nearby, a friend of mine, Benaiah, and his children were playing in the yard. And they just roughly went into his yard and grabbed the youngest one, his son. And the one man picked him up and showed him to the soldier in charge. This is one. And the soldier nodded and waved a hand. And then that soldier who held the baby stabbed him with his sword. And his mother screamed, and what is going on? Why are you doing this? And they went house to house. They were taking all the children who were 2 years old and under. And I heard something about king's orders, and they just were not listening. They were shoving us aside. Now I got nervous. They're coming to the house of my son. My son has children, and one of them is a young son of that age. And I'm thinking, oh, no, not my grandson, not my grandson. And I was pleading, but I got pushed aside by a soldier. I'm trying to hold him back. And then my son came over and said, no, you can't do this. He was very angry. And I started to think he was going to say something. He wanted to say something like, that's not him. I grabbed hold of my son. I pushed him against a wall. And I said, you can't break the secret. You can't tell them this. You're loyal. Remember your loyalty. I have a loyalty to my son. Yes, you have a greater loyalty to your God. And so he's saying, maybe I can stop them. Because something we noticed, they had gone to the house where Mary and Joseph were, and the rest of us, not saying anything, realized the house is empty. The yard is empty. The Magi and the whole caravan was gone during the night. And so they were then going to want to ask questions about what happened to these people. And I'm thinking, I can't say. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know where they went. They were here yesterday, and one of the soldiers even came up to me later and said, where's the people from this house? And I said, I do not know. He said, you tell me. I said, I don't know. They were there yesterday, and they had friends camping out in the yard yesterday. Is that where the Magi were? Yes, sir, I believe that is where they were. Where did they go? I said, I don't know. And then my son said, and if we did, we wouldn't tell you. And the soldier slapped him. You'll tell me whatever I want to say. I said, we can't tell you anything. We don't know. They were there yesterday. We wake up this morning and they're gone. What can we tell you? Which way did they go? I don't know. They ended up killing my grandson in front of me and my son and his wife and my wife. And the women were inconsolable, as you might well guess. We watched them kill them all, and ashamed of themselves, they rode off afterwards, after they had checked every building. We didn't have that big a population, so we're not talking a large number of boys, but we're talking about a large percentage. They killed them all. And people afterwards saying, why could we have stopped them? We don't know where the Messiah went. I said, yes, we do. We know he left. These soldiers went back to Herod thinking they had killed the baby they were wanting dead. And he killed the rest to make sure. We made a vow. The rabbi came up then too, and he joined me. He said, yes, we made a vow. We must do it again. If they think he's dead, Herod will not search for him any further. And someone said, but we do not know where he went. Exactly. Let's not have any searching going on here. Just let him grow up. 30 years from now, the Messiah will be on scene. And we can protect him best now by remembering our loyalty to him first in our life. I would want you to now know yourselves that this is indeed what you should be thinking as you begin your new year. You have loyalties in your life to your work, to your family, to your friends, to whatever organizations you belong to. But your highest loyalty is that which is to what is God in your life, whether it's God or not. And God should be first in your life. You need to rethink your loyalties and remember what it is to which you are serving, to which the one to whom you belong, the one who gave himself for you, your Messiah Jesus. And if there are some listening to me that have never made this choice, your loyalty is to yourself in one fashion or another, I would want to tell you it's time to rethink your loyalties too. You need to decide that this will be the year of our Lord that's ahead of us. And we're going to be able to commit to serving him in any and every way with all our skills, with all our passion, with all our possessions. Let this be a time when we say, I want to be loyal to my King, and I will serve him this year. He will have my all, just like he gave his all for me. God bless you.